Sean Huckster here. Welcome down the Mighty Max rabbit hole. Today we're continuing the series 1 of the Mighty Max horror heads. And today we're going to, well, again, I usually make an attempt to thematically link these, and you can tell why I chose these two for this review. Very much both futuristic cyborg sort of heads, not monsters or creepy things. So what we have first is Mighty Max against Robot Invader. Clearly, you're looking at a robot face here. Let's look at the comic book. In the comic, Max teleports in, and an android tries to stop him. They're in some sort of android factory, and he's attacked by the android, which I believe at one point is called the slave droid, even though in most documentation you see him simply referred to as the android. And he takes a piece of gear off the floor of the robot factory and smashes the slave droid and knocks its head off, making Master Brain very angry. Master Brain controls the factory, churning out androids. And then Max throws the thing at the Master Brain, and the Master Brain says, "Cyber Brain inoperative," and basically he destroys the Master Brain and then teleports on out. Now, after destroying the android, Master Brain wants to use Max as a replacement. Not quite sure how that works, but that's the story. Again, these stories are very simple. There's like 4 panels, not really much to the story, but it's something to give the child a bit of an imaginative boost when you get one of these things. Not that you really need it. These things are pretty much fuel for the imagination anyway. So this is the Robot Invader. We'll notice that these very much metal plates here. You've got these eyes. Again, most Mighty Max sets have some sort of interior part that becomes the exterior, and often it's the eyes, but not in this case. In this case, it's this brain right here, this little protruding circuitry that forms what you might call the brain of this thing. And that, as you'll see in a minute, is the top of the Master Brain. Master Brain is like a kind of a tentacled, computerized robot of some sort, and he runs the factory floor. So he put him aside. We have Mighty Max here, who has a little foothold back here. He can stand here. And then we have the android, which in the cartoon is at one point called Slave Droid. Slave Droid is articulated at the waist, like some of the Mighty Max villains are, but the arms don't move or anything like that. He is a very detailed robot, quite a nice design. I was going to say he is well painted, and he's got a foothold here. I don't know if there's a foothold for him here, but you can place him anywhere in the set. Let's have a look at the set itself, which we usually start at the bottom. And you can see it's pretty well painted. It's a black set with silver on the outline here, which you can see from the outside. And like the front, which is a lot of yellow, blue, and a nice color, a really nice color, teal blue, and silver, even on the chin here. That reflects on the inside. So what you have here is definitely machine parts. Mostly what we have is like metal silver things, yellow machinery, and what could definitely be like a factory floor. And as we know the story, Master Brain is running a robot factory, an android factory. But looking at the top, now you get to really see the factory. This is loose robot parts all over the place. Now there's not much detail up here, as you can see, except for the parts. And in the story, Max grabs one of these parts, basically, and knocks the head off the android and then attacks Master Brain with it. And, as these are not very complicated, they're certainly not Doom Zone complicated, but this is one of the first ones I ever bought in the modern era, so like within the last few months, and I have a special place in my heart. I try to find a Max that fits the cartoon, like his hat, so he's got a blue hat here, and he has a blue hat in the cartoon. So I'm going to pop Max back in here. I'm going to put Master Brain back where he belongs, which slots right in. Oops. For some reason, the blue-hatted Maxes have a little bit smaller footprint, and I have a lot of trouble getting blue-hatted Maxes to stay in their footholds. But if you're careful, you can do it. And Master Brain slots right back there, and the android slots right in underneath. He doesn't have pegs to keep him in place, but there's a nice little space for him there anyway. And we close this one up, and that is the Robot Invader. In the next one, This is Mighty Max Fights Nuke Ranger. As you can see, this is very nuclear. This is the nuclear symbol for nuclear danger. And this is very much like a gas-masked villain with these filters here. As almost all Mighty Max sets, as you know, some part of the interior forms the exterior. And these parts here and the eyes are all one thing, and they're inside, and I'll show you that in a minute. But first, the outside. So you definitely have like a futuristic gas mask kind of thing here with lots of locks and plates and things in place. There are these are not black, these are holes into the inside, although you can't really see anything in there. Now, the story goes, Max teleports in while the Nuke Ranger on his hoverpod is trying to make this reactor go critical so he can blow up the Earth for some stupid reason. Why do villains always want to blow up the Earth? There's no reason for it. What would you do? Anyway, so Max, this is kind of funny because Max, to defeat the Nuke Ranger, Max picks up a skeleton. He actually picks up a skeleton and kind of uses it as a puppet and reanimates the skeleton in a way and scares Nuke Ranger. And he says, "You're supposed to be dead." And then he throws Nuke Ranger into the reactor and destroys the reactor and teleports out. That's the story. Now let's see what's going on inside. Let's open her up. And of course, the first thing you see is this wild hoverpod. Now, this forms the filters in the eyes of the Nuke Ranger face. And there's a space here for Max to stand. I have a green-hatted Max to fit the green-hatted Max in the story. And he fits, again, let's see, does he fit? I know he's supposed to fit, but a lot of my Maxes seem to be a little bit too small for their footholds. Anyway, so this is a Series 1 Max for a Series 1 horror head. He's supposed to fit. But anyway, this is a hoverpod, and the Nuke Ranger does sit in the hoverpod, like his legs articulate, and he actually has a space to sit in the hoverpod, and he's actually sitting right on Max's foothold, so either one of the characters can control the hoverpod. And Nuke Ranger flies after Max in the hoverpod. Of course, it doesn't end well for him. Why these eyes look quite like this, I don't know. These are power pillars, I guess, of some sort. And, you know, he's not a terribly well-painted figure, but he does have the gas mask here, which is kind of cool, and he's carrying a weapon of some sort. Now let's look at the set itself. Starting at the bottom as usual, you see a lot of equipment down here. It's well painted, silver and yellow, pretty detailed. This is like nicely sculpted. You get some purple bits back here. Now what you have here in the middle is supposed to be the reactor. So you can see purple going up the sides of this gray reactor, and there's nothing inside. In fact, when you close the set, this is the only place Max, I think, can go when you close the set. But you'd think there'd be some sort of detail. Judging on previous sets, there'd be something in there, but there isn't. Now, Max can fit this way, or he can also fit this way, which I'm not really sure is supposed to go that way, but he can fit that way for more secure. He won't rattle around as much if he's in that way, but I don't think that's how he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be in here like so. And on the upper part, we have this really freaky radioactive skeleton, or a few of them actually. And this is the skeleton that Max picks up and uses as a puppet to scare the heck out of Nuke Ranger. Not a lot of detail up here other than that. I mean, that's really it. There's not even any detail on this other than a few little bits here. One would think that this might have a bit more detail to it, but no. I mean, I don't know what else to say about this one. I do like this set. I love the outside more than the inside. The inside's kind of, dare I say, a little bit uninspiring. I don't know. Not my favorite interior, but it's one of my favorite exteriors for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's my own science fiction aesthetic. I don't know. And that is Mighty Max Fights Nuke Ranger. So that's today's Series 1 horror heads. There are only 2 to go, I believe, in this series. Or have I finished this series? I'll let you know in the next video. Hopefully you follow me and enjoy this video. Sean Huckster out. Bye-bye.